This is Agronomy Moment. I'm Wendell Cohen.
Welcome back to Agronomy Moment, everybody. Today's podcast is largely around a tutorial regarding making zones and prescriptions in FARMserver. Joining me today is Nick Yates, the Regional Precision Technology Specialist, is what his official title is, otherwise known as the FARMserver guy.
That's right.
So, Nick, tell me just real briefly a little bit about how you came to FARMserver.
Yeah, so
Vex.
I've got a long history of growing up on a farm and being in the ag industry. And technology was always something I kind of gravitated towards. So for the previous 7 years, I've been heavily involved with technology and seeing how systems have evolved in cab mainly, whether it be a planter, tractor, or a combine.
Yes.
But I've kind of seen that there's been a more of a trend towards the actual data side. What can we do with this data that we're capturing in the cab, and how can we better what we're currently doing?
Yes.
With that information. So, um, I've seen other platforms. I've been involved with other things along the way, but I was kind of taking a look at FARMserver, and that's ultimately what brought me to Beck's and to FARMserver.
Okay. Now, in today's thing, I would like you to help me build a prescription. Um, I'm also not terribly sure what kind of benefit I'm going to get out of it. And so I was just thinking as we go forward, I heard you talking about test blocks
Mhm.
and that we can check populations and maybe at the end of the year be able to see what populations were the best.
hmm
So,
Absolutely. So one of the nice features about FARMserver is using the test blocks in our zones and RX tools.
okay.
So you heard me kind of mention learning from that data
Yes.
that we're gathering in the cab. Well, we can actually dial that down to a specific area of the field and compare that to the rest of the field, whether or not these test blocks of variable rate planting, for instance,
Yes.
is actually going to pay.
Okay.
So,
So right now we're
yeah,
logged into the account, and we're starting here at the home page. This is what you see when you log in.
absolutely.
If we had time, we'd go here and watch this little handy video here from Bam Weather about this winter storm that's coming through. But he looks like he just changed it, but we won't have time for that today. We're going to dive right in. So where do I need to go here to build some zones?
Sure. So, basically, whenever you get signed in, this is the first page you're going to see. So, you're going to have your commodity prices and everything right there, right in front of you. You're going to have your yield trends as well. And then any of the recent articles down at the bottom, you'll have links to whether it be episodes of The Dig or some
Yep.
of our monthly farm server updates.
Okay, sure.
So just highlighting a couple things there, but as far as getting to creating a variable rate planning rec, for instance, or a zone, we're going to click on the zones and RX button there on the left-hand side of the screen.
And I was thinking about building one field with some variable rate and building another one with one, maybe just a flat rate,
Mhm.
and but with the zones that we think it is, and then putting test blocks in them.
Yeah,
Sound good?
sounds good.
All right, we're gonna go to 23.
Yep. So from here, once we've selected the year, we're just going to go up to the top there in the middle.
Okay.
We're going to click on that plus zone button there.
Okay.
Now, here on the left-hand side, it's going to kind of ask you, do you want to just do it from layers? So layers means maybe it's different soil types, or maybe it's yield layers,
Okay.
yield data that you want to create zones from. Or if you have some zones that you already have and you would like to import those, you can do that as well. But for this example, we're going to walk through the layers portion.
Okay.
And do you like 3, 5, or 7 zones?
Well, for me, if it gets too busy, it gets pretty busy if I have too many. So I a
Sure.
lot of times find it's better I like to start simpler and then split it if I have to. But
I think that's a great idea.
okay.
So typically that's where I would start with a guy.
So
You
would it be
know,
3 or 5? Would be
typically I would say three.
okay. That's what I would
So
like.
so that's what we'll pick on today. And then down below, if you'd like to name this something custom, uh, we have the ability to go in and name that.
Okay.
So if you wanted to name it for your display, you can
Okay.
go ahead and type in whatever display you're currently using
Okay.
in your planter tractor. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to select which field we would like to create some zones on.
Okay. I think I'm gonna do this one here, and then
Okay.
there's another one here.
All right. And then from there, top right, we go to continue. So not to be confused, basically at this point, we have to create zones
Okay.
before we actually assign rates.
Okay. So
Okay.
right now
So
we're just gonna draw a line, or we're gonna somehow make lines,
we're going to, yes,
and where they start and stop of the different yield levels or population levels.
whatever we choose to use. And that's what this page is right here. So
Okay.
we're going to create different zones, which is different areas within a field.
Gotcha.
With FARMserver, we kind of give the end user the flexibility to use whichever layers that they feel is prominent
Okay.
and most accurate in this example. So I like to use yield data. I think yield data has a lot to say about a field,
Yep.
especially if you have multiple years worth of yield data. So if you had, let's say, all the way back to 2015, right there on that same line,
It would all show up.
you would have several years worth of yield data.
Last night I just quickly pushed in some data into this account for this
Yep.
dealer account to give us something here. But yeah, you're saying they'd all be lined up as tiles here.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And then, moving right down the list. So if we decided that soil types was something that we needed to really pay attention to, for example, if you got some sandy soils, maybe on the corners or something like
Yep.
that of the field,
Yep.
that this may be something where we're going to adjust this as well.
Okay.
And then scrolling on down, elevation. So this elevation map typically is generated from our combine. So
Okay.
that's just one of the things that GPS does
Yes.
on a combine in the fall during harvest. So if we decide that elevation, we have a drastic change in elevation, and we'd like
Yes.
to change our population, we can do that as well.
And in this case, I might do it for this field.
Okay. And then see down listed below, we do have the ability to include soil test information.
Yes.
So if we wanted to go in and write, maybe use some of our organic matter, for example,
Yes.
or whatever the case is, we've got all that listed below. Like I said, ultimately giving the end user the flexibility to pick and choose what
Okay.
they feel would be necessary to create zones.
And it looks like to me in this case, I'm not that interested in this information.
Okay. So from here, we'll just go ahead and click continue. Now, this will bring us to the page where it shows us our field. And then over on the left-hand side, basically FARMserver is asking you, how much importance do we want to base this zone creation on with our yield data, soil types, and elevation?
Okay.
So what that means is how much percent elevation, how much percent soil type do we want to use in the event of creating these zones? So you can leave it as is at 100%, or if you feel that, hey, I'm going to back my yield data off.
Yep. Like let's just say my thought process is that this is 1 year of yield data, for example, and I'm like, this type of year, I'm just going to give it a 30% weight.
Sure, because maybe this type of year or this past year wasn't quite an accurate representative of what
Yes.
the field does, but
That's
we
right.
still want to include this.
Yep. Still have some weight there.
Yep. So
Now, soil type, maybe we leave that at 100, and elevation, we just take it. Let's just say 50.
yep.
Now what do we do?
So from there, we're kind of telling it, hey, this is what we'd like to see as far as layering this importance. So we just go ahead and click generate.
Okay. By the way, that field boundary is not 100% accurate.
I was wondering if you farmed across that field.
No, it was a quick way to get some boundaries in.
Sure. So based off the information that we've provided, FARMserver has now populated some zones
Yes.
within our field.
And I'm actually not, um, I don't feel like that's actually too bad. Like that's probably pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we can, what here, kind of just reduce this so I can see the ground.
Yep.
Well, the reason it looks so good is because of the saying the tree line is medium.
Yep. You can see that.
But I would agree this is more creek bottom in here and generally does really well until you get up on this hill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, now what?
So if we're happy with the way that this looks, we can go ahead and click the next button. Or if we decide that we have some things we need to edit,
Okay.
you see the button right
Yes.
there on the left that says edit. So if you click on that, this will give us some different options. So
Okay.
right here, split zone, right there in the middle, if we wanted to go in and split that high level zone right in the middle, just say we wanted to cut it in half.
Yes.
That's what that split zone would do for
Okay.
us. It would just basically just go in, just draw a line. It's going to cut that whole zone right in half.
Okay.
That way, it'll give you the flexibility to be like, okay, the top half will be high,
Yes.
but the bottom half is really kind of a lower
Okay.
yielding area.
And then I could come in here and just say I'm going to make this a medium, let's say.
Yep.
I want to make this a medium.
Yep.
Okay. Now what? Now, how do I get this to medium?
So basically, you would hit done,
Okay.
and then we are going to merge zones,
Okay.
and
Click
then
on them.
click on the zones you would like to merge into a medium zone.
Okay. And hit done.
Yep.
Okay. Now what?
So if you notice on that last screen there, the last zone that you click on will be the one that it changes it to.
Okay, so that's why it's high.
So yeah, so go back into merge zones there.
Okay.
And if you read right there underneath merge zones, it says select the zones you would like to merge. And then once you do that, go ahead and select those.
Okay.
And then you see how it populated all selected zones will become H zones. So
Yes.
go over and click on your M
Now they'll all
on the left hand side.
Oh, okay, right here in the
Yeah, that little sliver that M. I'm not sure you quite got it there. Did you? Hard to see. Yes, the last zone you select, it'll create all those two, and then go ahead and just hit done or cancel.
All become low.
Yep. So now we're going to edit that label.
Okay.
So select the zone, and now that's the zone that says low. We need to change that and make it a medium, and then we can hit done.
Okay.
So
What happens here if we do this one?
go ahead and click on that.
Okay.
Basically, it's going to more or less give us a pivot option.
Okay, so
right?
if you had irrigation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. But and then it kind of walks you through that process of doing that.
So if you had a pivot, you could just say like it was right here.
Sure.
And you could draw it out to where the end of that end gun or whatever it is. And
Yep.
say that's that and go like X. And then here you can see we're having some problems because we got too many trees in here.
Yeah.
Well, let's
cancel that out. Okay. So yeah, basically this is what the edit tools in FARMserver does.
Okay.
So,
What and this here? What is this? Add buffer.
so yep, go ahead and click on that one as well.
Okay.
So if you wanted to create a buffer around
Engine hill. Like in the same similar to what we
yes,
did before,
very-
like with
very
trees.
similar. Correct.
Okay, so like we could just say, let's say I want 45 feet.
Yep.
Okay.
And then generate.
Okay.
So now what it's done is gone around the entire field boundary
Gotcha.
rather than just one specific part of it.
So now I could technically, what I'm seeing here is I could plant next to the trees, I could plant, like let's say 25,000.
Yep.
There's a lot of tree pressure and wildlife pressure.
Yep.
And then at 45 feet, my first planter pass would be 20, my lower population.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
I like it. Let's do that. Okay. Now are we
Yep.
ready for next?
Yep, we can go up and click next now. what this is going to do is finish basically building all these zones and putting them together, and it's going to bring us back
Yes,
um, to the previous page there.
it's thinking.
We are buffering.
And we could have went and did the split zone here, and it's like, where the buffer lines were is next to the road. We want that to be full population. We could have split that off and then remerged it, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to do the next field. And this one here, I was wondering if we could just make some zones,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately I just want to do test blocks.
Okay.
So what do we need to do? It doesn't matter what I select then, just kind of select same thing then maybe?
So really, this comes down to what you would like to see.
I
You
would like
know,
to see like 3 simple zones.
3 simple zones. We can put yield data in there. We can use soil types. So
Let's just do these 2 for now.
sounds good.
And then we'll just, so it's just doing all these one here, but we'll just kind of keep that as that for now and then just edit them later.
Yeah,
Or what?
we have the ability to edit that later if we need to.
Okay.
If we need to assign those different soil types.
All right, I'm going to hit continue. And the reason I'm thinking of doing this one here is I don't know this field as well. I'm not sure which population I want to be at.
Okay.
So I want to make the zones so that I'm anticipating these being differences.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the end of the year, I'd like to pull a test block report and it says in your low zone where you thought it was low, this population did better. And then I want to compare it to medium zone.
Mm-hmm.
Your population did this. Best population was this population. And then it'll help me know, did my zones make sense?
Sure.
But I'm not sure I'm confident yet of making an actual full field.
And that's what's not so nice about those test blocks is they really kind of give you can still plant the field as if you normally would.
Yes.
And then you can use those smaller segments, those zones,
Yeah.
to actually
Fine tune your comps.
exactly. Yep.
Okay. Now, let's just do kind of like before. I just think this here is going to be like, let's just put it at 30%. Okay. And then generate. Okay. I'm going to just clear this out just a little bit. This is high and this is medium, and I like to edit this a little bit.
Okay.
Because I know this. I know enough about this field a little bit to maybe where I think I want my zones.
Sure.
So we're just going to go, I'm going to split this one off at above these waterways that are coming across. And because it flattens out here
Mm-hmm.
on top of this hill, which I think is higher yield in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then and that's next to the trees. I'm going to agree with that. And then this is high down here because we get down to the lower end of this ditch. It really builds back up in yield. That all looks good to me.
And that waterway is still in place.
It is.
Okay.
Like they're right through there, and that's a lower, and it yields well in there. So I'm going to keep our pops up there for corn.
Sure.
This one in here, it looks good. Actually, it looks pretty decent.
Okay.
I might make another line. What do? Add another line like that?
Yep.
And I'm going to,
Yeah, we're still in the split zones tool here, so basically you can just come in and add
Okay.
another line.
I might just cross right here.
And here's just something to point out. So
Okay.
I'm noticing when you're drawing your lines,
Okay.
you start outside of the medium zone that you're wanting to
Right
split.
here. Like I started in
Yeah, you started in the low zone,
Yes.
came across the medium line,
Yes.
and then finished on the other side of the medium line as well.
Because if I would just let's just say I would start here and go here and double click, it
Yeah.
is not going to it is not going to cut it because we did not complete an intersection.
Right, there is no intersection, correct?
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna be happy with this one.
All right.
Hit done. And I want to add buffers. I like those buffers.
Okay.
I'm gonna do 45 feet because my them lines may not be exact. And if I do row count, if I do 2, it's going to make it 2 of them.
Yes.
So if I would do 2, but let's make it 80 feet.
And then if you have the option to put a buffer around your interior boundary.
Okay, I do not want to do that.
So if you had like a pond or something like that.
Yes, and I don't want to do that.
Okay.
So I'm going to hit generate now.
Yep.
Oh yeah, so now we have two.
Yep.
And we could call this one very low and then just go to low if we wanted to add
Mm-hmm.
like let's say I had like a 22,000, but I want my rest of my field on the low zones to be at 30.
Yep. So you could actually stair step that out away from the trees or away from the edge of the field, starting at very low,
Yeah.
going low, and then medium type thing.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I think that's a new feature. I haven't seen that before.
Yep.
Okay, hit finish. And it must be thinking again. You have the spinning wheel. And you
Yep.
hope that it
A
eventually
good
makes
internet
a circle.
connection does
Yes.
does help. So basically, what we're doing is now we've got to put all that together that we just edited.
Okay.
So that's why sometimes you'll see that buffering wheel as well.
Oh,
It's
sure.
kind of working in the background
Yep.
to stitch all that together. So
Okay, now we see our Pro 700
yep.
name. Now, how do I add my rates?
So over to the right, underneath the rates
Okay.
column, there's an add button.
Okay.
So we've got to go in and add our rates, assign rates to zones. So over here on the left-hand side, type,
Okay.
if you click that box,
So it's
we're
corn
going to plant corn. Operation will be planting. Yep.
units.
In units, so you have a Pro 700.
Yes.
Do you remember which units your monitor reads in?
I thought it was K seeds per acre.
So Pro 700s are K seeds per acre.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's some other displays that
Yes.
actually just use seeds per acre.
Yes. So is there a way to go if you don't know? Is there a safer one to use K seeds or seeds per acre if you're not sure which monitor?
So typically, I would just have a guy ask, maybe
Okay.
their dealer or something like that,
Okay.
just to verify.
Okay.
Yep.
So we can go K seeds per
Mhm.
acre. And I'm going to put the very low at around the trees at 22. No, or no, is that what I'm supposed to type? Do I just type 22,000 now?
So if you type 22,000, we're putting it in
5,000?
Yeah, K seeds per acre. So we want 22.
Okay, so 22. And
Yep.
then what do I do for product?
So product, however you want to see this listed. So if we're going to plant a certain hybrid, maybe we're going to put that in here.
Okay.
I have seen product just be corn because we're not
Okay.
quite sure what it's going to be yet.
We'll just do
That can be
corn.
later assigned.
I'm going to do a little shortcut and hit copy. And then low, let's do 30. And then let's do 32 and 34.
And then also something to point out. So if you
Okay.
typed corn in for that first product line and
Okay.
you hit those three little dots right above it,
Okay.
there's right there in the middle, it says use same product in all zones.
All right. Let's just do it that
So
way.
basically what that would do is automatically fill everything into whatever you typed in for that first box.
But
Yep. And then
that's even easier.
down at the very bottom we've got total units
34.
based off the
Yes.
based off the information that we've typed in.
Perfect. Now I hit save.
Yep. So now we are saving those changes and assigning all those rates to those zones.
Yes. Do I hit finish?
Yep.
And it's probably
And then populates up there at the top.
Edit.
So now we've got our rates in.
okay.
So zones first, then rates. And then after rates, we have the ability, we can add test blocks.
Now let's just go quick to this farm. We're just going to do flat rate rates and then
Okay.
do test blocks on this one.
Okay.
Okay. Corn again. Let's do planting. And we're doing K seeds per acre. Okay. On the very low, we're going to do, I might just do 25. And then we can do, right now I could hit the three dots
Mhm.
and hit use same products. Perfect. And then we're going to do 31. No, yeah, we're going to do 33 in every zone. Does that make sense? Because I don't know. I just want to make the
Yep.
zones, right?
Yep.
Hit save.
So outside of our very low, which is the edge of our field, we get a lot of deer pressure,
Yep.
a lot of turkeys.
Yep. I'm confident in my
So-
pops there.
Yep.
And then hit finish.
Yep.
And once we get done thinking about it, there it is. Now I want to add blocks, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you notice on the left-hand side, we kind of give you some options. You
Okay.
want to add one test block or two or four.
I
And
like
then
4.
Also, what size blocks would you like to see?
Okay.
We have quarter, half, or one full acre.
And that's the of each block,
Yep.
of each little block.
Yep.
Okay. Let's do a quarter just for this
Okay.
one.
And then basically right there, hovering over that rotation, basically
Yep.
it's going to turn our block.
To pivot that.
Yep.
And since on our farm we plant with the road, that's 2 degrees. I'm just going to put it at 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Now we're going to place our test blocks.
Okay.
And then hover over on your zones on your map.
Well, can I do this? So
Yep.
I can see. All right. We want to put one in here.
Okay.
I can't hardly fit one in here, can I?
That one might be a little bit difficult.
I'll squeeze it.
So the reason why that's red is if you go back to that being red, it's
Yeah.
actually intersecting two different
So
zones.
let me drop it over that.
Correct. So when it won't let you drop that, it's probably because you've got an intersection somewhere
Okay.
with
Yep.
a different zone.
I think what I had meant to do is edit some of these at one point here and make this all high so we had a medium and high, but
Mhm.
I did not. So we'll just pretend that we did and put another block in there.
Okay.
We'll pretend that was medium, this was high or something
Okay.
like that. What
Yeah.
does this do?
So go ahead and click on that.
Oh,
So did you have some test blocks in there from
Must
the
have.
previous year?
must have.
So that's what that's showing us.
And then we could layer it
Yep.
year after year right on top.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you're happy with your placement,
I
you
am.
can go ahead and complete that.
Okay.
Now we have to tell it down below
What we're gonna do.
what rate we want in those blocks and what product.
1 is 1, 2 is 2, and we can just correlate this over here. And
Yep.
I could say I'm just going to say, guess that I feel like we could go to 29. We could do 31, 33, and 35.
Okay.
And we can do that every single zone, right? If
Yep.
we want to.
Yep.
And we could do other numbers too. But if we want to compare across zones, we might want to keep them the same.
Yeah, so basically that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to, figure out which population fits this field or these areas of the field
Yes.
the best.
31.
Ultimately, by using test blocks, it's kind of like having a check strip,
Yes.
in your
Okay.
field.
Yep.
Okay, so when you think about fungicide, for instance,
Yes.
typically you'll see an untreated check
Yes.
to compare it against
Yes.
actually did that fungicide pay,
Yes.
did that application pay.
Yes. Now we're going to see if did the population changes, which one paid the most.
Yep. So once we assign all of our rates for all of our different blocks, we just hit save down there at the bottom.
I wish I was prepared today. I would have had a report printed off to show what the test blocks look like and then
Yep.
how you can compare. But I would like you maybe just to explain to us, are we done then?
So we've added everything. So all the columns over there on the right-hand side are full.
Okay.
So yeah, we actually have the ability to go in and export this
Okay.
as a planning prescription.
So I can go up here and I could just hit the zone and then we're all ready to send everyone out to
Yep.
go to the corn monitor.
Yep.
Okay. And what I do? That one?
So yeah, you can do the export RX there.
Okay.
And now it's going to ask for our monitor type.
Oh, so which one?
So I like to use a shape file.
Okay. So
But-
like this one right here.
Yep, it is important to remember which monitor you're going to, even if you have different monitors for multiple
Yep.
different planters, for instance.
Sure.
So it's kind of nice to keep that in mind. Shape files typically work very well going into those monitors. And then down here, you have your different exporting options. So what that is, if I understand doesn't really make a lot of sense from this screen right here.
Yes.
But if you click on that top one, for instance,
Okay.
it's giving you an example that M is the farm name, F is the field name,
Yes.
and P is your product.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we're getting a quick glimpse of what that prescription will look like when you import that into your monitor
And you
down there
go
at the bottom.
to identify which field it's
Yes.
for and all that.
So that way you don't have to try to open every single one of them if you have
Okay.
multiple, and it just makes things a lot easier to find.
Okay. Then I hit export.
Yep. Now this will be something once we get
Yep.
this exported. Basically, we're going to put it on a USB stick
And take it to the tractor.
or take it to the tractor and get that imported in our
Gotcha.
monitor.
I'm going to hit cancel because I don't want this one.
Sure.
And then at the end of the year, we can harvest, bring in harvest data, and then when they'll find those, when we go up here to reports, right?
Yep.
We can go in here, and we can click the comprehensive yield report,
Yeah. So
select that field,
correct. Yep.
and then somewhere's in there it will tell us.
So basically, I'd like to explain the comprehensive yield report is let's just think about everything that we've done in that field for the year.
Yes.
That's what it's basically going to give us, right? If it's going to give us a report. It's a yield by hybrid, so
Yes.
it's got all our planting data brought in. It's a yield by soil type. If we want to include the ROI calculator, so let's say we've gone in and put in our farm expenses.
Yes.
Up there at the top right hand corner, we can check that checkbox that
Include ROI.
says include ROI. So
Yes.
what that's going to do is show us a map of our higher yielding, more profitable areas of the
Yes.
field versus the areas with
That are
maybe losing a little bit of money.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what that comprehensive yield report is built to
Okay.
do. And then also single out all of our test blocks that we've gone in, spent some time building those.
Yep.
So we can try to learn some more about that field.
Very interesting. Unfortunately, we have to bring this time here to a close, but
Yep.
it's been a helpful tutorial to know how to do prescriptions and work our way through. Guys, feel free to pause this video at different places if you're sitting in front of your computer and wanting to do prescriptions to build for next spring. Feel free to pause this video at any point and work your way through it. It's been a pleasure, Nick, having you here today on the podcast.
Thank you.
And I know you've got a drive home ahead of you to beat this winter storm. So wish you well on that. Thank you so much for joining us today on Agronomy Moment.
Yep. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you for joining us today on Agronomy Moment, a Top Ag Services production. If you want alerts on what we are finding in the field, go to topagservices.com/signups to receive alerts, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is our goal to bring you the most recent and advanced information possible. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to reach out to us anytime. We also ask you that you give us a like and follow our channel wherever you listen to your podcasts or watch these videos. This ultimately helps us reach more people like you. Hey, this has been Wendell Cohen, your show host. Thank you to all who made this show possible. This show is over. See ya.